Hi everyone, good morning.
Morning.
We are going to start. My name is Chany Katz, and I am a board-certified behavior analyst and a licensed behavior analyst. So I've been working at Chany for the past, I think, 16 years as first a teacher in their school for children with autism, and after that I became a supervisor. Currently I'm the IEP coordinator. Before I begin, I'm just curious, by the raise of hand, how many of you are special educators? Okay. How many of you work for the Board of Ed? Okay, welcome. Any speech therapists? 2. Any occupational therapists? No. Physical? Oh, nice. And any parents? Okay. Anyone else that left out? Counselors? Okay. So, this workshop is about verbal behavior. Verbal behavior is communication. And I'm sure most of you came here because you want to teach your children or clients with special needs or autism how to communicate. Raise your hand if I'm wrong. Okay. So, the topics that we'll be discussing are Skinner's verbal behavior model, joint attention. We'll discuss the definition and how that is in connection with the verbal behavior, echoics, tacts, mands, and intraverbals. These words are jargon for APA in relation to communication. So, why do we need a special term of verbal behavior when we're talking about talking and communication? So, speech, it's too limited to vocal behavior. When we use the word speech, we're assuming someone is talking. But as we all know, a lot of children with special needs and autism are communicating, but not with their voice. Maybe sign language, maybe a device, maybe they're writing, they're typing, any other form. Is it language or linguistic behavior? It strongly implies community practices, for example, the English language, Asian languages, etc. So, because of different reasons, they decided, especially Skinner, let's use the word verbal behavior, which is going to include all types of communication. It's relatively unfamiliar in traditional modes of explanation, but when you're talking about any ABA school or usually when you're talking with children with autism, you're going to hear the term verbal behavior. Also in relation to assessments that are done for the children, you'll be hearing the term verbal behavior. Just curious, any of you are familiar with the ABLES or the VB Math assessment? Okay, I know we did a different workshop on that, but those assessments are very much based on verbal behavior. So verbal behavior includes asking for something, answering a question, writing a note, pointing, gesturing, using sign language, using braille, typing, like I said before, any form of communication. As long as the child or person gets their thought across in any form, they're communicating. Nonverbal behavior. So when someone's nonverbal, they're not communicating. Even if they're talking to themselves, it's not considered communication. So nonverbal behavior, I'll give you some examples. If I'm yawning, if I cough, if I walk somewhere, if I clap, and all of those things I'm doing are not because I'm trying to communicate, they're just actions, then that's not considered communication. Even if I talk to myself and I say, oh, looking in the mirror, and no one's there, then I'm not really communicating. So now we're going to be discussing, if you see this chart, verbal versus vocal behavior. So verbal means any form of communication. Vocal is using your voice. A lot of people think if someone's not talking vocally, then they're definitely not communicating. Unfortunately, we want all the children to use their voice, but not all of them can. And it's important to say that if a child knows how to label, for example, 100 items on their device, if you say, what's this, they'll answer you on their device exactly what you want them to say, but they're not using their voice. So they still are communicating, and they still know how to label. They can even ask for what they want with their device. So let's go in specific. Vocal and verbal. Vocal means using a voice, and verbal means communication. An example, they're making sounds with their vocal musculature to affect another person. They're talking to someone with their voice. If I ask someone a question, if I tell you what I want with my voice, if I make a comment, that is me communicating vocally. So it's vocal verbal. The next is vocal nonverbal. I'm using my voice, but I'm not communicating. For example, like I said before, coughing, yawning, making meaningless sounds with vocal muscles. Okay, so we discussed the first two. The next is non-vocal verbal. So I'm not using my voice, but I am communicating. I keep mentioning the device, but it could be sign language, writing, gesturing, braille, finger spelling, typing, anything. Any way that a child may, if I'm not mentioning a form of communication that you're using with your child, you can raise your hand and let me know. But most of the main ones are devices, sign language, and maybe typing on a computer or things like that. Last is non-vocal, non-verbal, which means they're not using their voice and they're not communicating. Okay? For example, walking, picking something up, opening a door, turning lights on, putting a key in a lock, or any other example, sitting in a chair, brushing hair. Those are all examples of non-vocal, non-verbal. So now that we know that vocal means voice, but verbal means communication, this workshop is specifically on verbal behavior, any form of communication to help our children communicate. Okay, so we gave some introduction about verbal behavior. Here is the exact definition. Verbal behavior is behavior that is mediated by the behavior of another person. This means it is what we do in most of our interactions with other people. Verbal behavior is communication. So in order to be communicating, there has to be someone else there. And you actually want to get a message over to them, whatever it might be. If no one else is there, then you're not communicating. So you need two people. Verbal behavior focuses attention on the functional analysis of language, looking at the conditions under which a person will use language. In other words, looking at why things are said. That is the most crucial point that I want to emphasize. Anything we ever say is a function of why we say it. So when we're teaching children, we want to know why they're saying what they say. For example, the isolated word popcorn. If I just say it, we don't know why I'm saying it, but it could be I'm requesting it, could be I'm labeling it, could be I'm just repeating it, I heard someone say popcorn or I smelled it, could be I'm answering a question about popcorn, could be I'm talking to myself, could be I'm stimming, I'm doing self-stimulatory behaviors and I just like saying popcorn, popcorn because I watched it on a video that morning. So when any child says a word, vocally or on their device or sign language, we always want to know why they're saying it. It's very, very important. You might have a child who likes to play with their device like it's a toy, so they're pointing to book, 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 book. Are they trying to communicate? Are they trying to play with it because they like the sound of the word book? Verbal behavior can include speaking, sign language, writing, gesturing. I keep mentioning that again and again because it's extremely important to remember. Okay, words are behavior. So we're saying verbal behavior. Anything we can observe is a behavior. So we're talking about observable communication. Understanding the function of language, the effects of language on the environment, and these environmental variables that produce language is critical to promoting the acquisition of speech and language. So, here is Skinner's verbal behavior model. I'm sure you all know Skinner's the father of applied behavior analysis. He did the experiments, and based on that, we established socially significant methods of teaching children with special needs and autism, based on his principles. So, we're going to be discussing now the terms of verbal behavior under Skinner's model. The first is echoic. We all know what that means. Look at echo. So echoic is point-to-point correspondence. If a mother says hat and the child repeats hat, that is an echoic point-to-point correspondence. The point is to know the function. Is a child repeating hat because they want to ask for a hat? That wouldn't be an echoic. If they're just repeating it because they heard it, they don't want it, they're not labeling it, they just literally are repeating it, that's an echoic. They might not be repeating it vocally. If they don't know how to use their voice, they might be repeating it on their device. They might sign hat. They might write hat. Those are all echoics. So you're saying it because someone else said it. The next term is mad. If you're in any ABA school, you're going to hear that word a lot, hopefully, because one of the foundations of teaching children is having them be able to communicate their needs and wants. So they're going to be demanding, requesting. You say it because you want it. So the same example of hat, a child might be saying hat not because they heard it, not because they saw it, because they want it. So they're saying hat, and the function is a request. The next term is tact. Tact is to label. The child is saying hat because they see it, or they feel it. So again, you're saying it because you see, hear, smell, taste, or feel something. They don't want it, they're not repeating it, they're literally labeling. The last term we're going to be discussing is intraverbal. Intraverbal is you're saying something different than what you heard, but you're saying it in response to what you heard. So if the mother says, "What do you wear in your head?" and you say hat, that is an intraverbal. You're saying something in response to hearing it, but it's a different response. If the child would say, "What do you wear in your head?" that would be an echoic. A lot of our children are unfortunately having echolalia, where they repeat what they hear. Raise your hand if you're familiar with that. Yeah, and it's good that they're doing that because you can use that and turn that into functional communication. It's better than not repeating at all. It's hard to have someone request and label if they don't have echoics. So intraverbals is the highest level of communication. You're having conversations here. You're having children answer questions. You're having children say their personal information. They're filling in blanks. Those are all intraverbals. They're not saying it because they want something. They're not saying it to label. And they're not saying it to repeat. They're saying it to continue a dialogue. So again, echoic is repeating, mad is to request, tact is to label, and intraverbal is answering or filling in a blank. Okay, so now that we are familiar with the terms, we're going to be discussing a term that's extremely important for all children called joint attention. And if you understand this term, you'll know that all children, typical development, develop it naturally from when they're a few months old. What it means is two people are actively sharing attention with respect to an object or event and monitoring each other's attention to that object or event. Example, a kitten runs into the room and a 3-year-old girl smiles and then looks at her mother and points at the cat. So the mother and the girl both know that they're looking at the cat. For example, even a young baby, they might look at a ball that's rolling to them, look at their mother and smile. And the mother and the baby both know that they're both acknowledging that the ball is rolling. And unfortunately, a lot of children with autism need to be taught joint attention. They don't have it naturally. So if you want them to label something, they don't have the desire to say, "Oh, it's dark," and look at their mother or caregiver, because they don't have that skill of joint attention. So when you want them to label, and there's no joint attention, it won't be very natural and spontaneous. You're going to have to go over to them and say, "What's this?" and show them a flashcard or a visual and give them reinforcers, because it's not naturally motivating them for them to share information with you. So it's, the reason why we're discussing joint attention before tactics of verbal behavior is to understand that it's really a prerequisite. If you want true, natural, spontaneous communication, you need to have joint attention. The child needs to know that you're both looking at the same item. They might say, "Oh, the bird's flying." And then you look and they both know you're talking about the same thing. So we're going to discuss the development of joint attention in typical developing children. It develops about the end of the first year in 2 forms. Responding. So responding to another person's directed attention develops at the end of the first year. At 12 to 14 months, infants begin to check back and look at the person after first looking at the object. So if there's a balloon that's flying around the room, they look at their dad, look at the balloon, look at the dad, they are both acknowledging that the balloon is flying. Initiating attention of another person to the object or event is going to happen later. At 12 to 14 months, gaze shifts between object and familiar person. Adults usually respond by labeling object or event. So here the child is taking initiative. They're not responding to the caregivers. The caregiver might be like, "Oh, look, there's a kite." And then the baby responds and looks at the kite and looks at the mother. Here, the baby's looking first and looking at their caregiver, or sister, brother, teacher, and initiating the joint attention. Adults usually respond by labeling, like I said. So if the baby's looking at a boat by the water, and looks at the caregiver, and the caregiver's like, right, it's a boat. And that's how they also develop language. You keep hearing words for different items. Bottle, cracker. Later, model gestures, verbalizations, pointing, reaching, and showing. So we all see like little kids start pointing all day, and they're like saying, and then someone gives them the word for it, eventually they start babbling, and they start actually talking. By the middle of the second year, joint attention is well developed and typically developed in children. Joint attention may be important to the development of language because language is learned in the context of joint attention interactions, like I mentioned before. And early in the second year, when children hear a novel word, they look at the adult, then at the object the adult is looking at. For example, if there's an apple, and the sister's cutting up an apple for the baby and says, apple. So the baby looks at the apple, and they hear the word apple, they look at the sister, and they're like, oh. They start registering that item is called apple. They try to imitate it, and as they get older, they're going to know that's apple, and their words will get clear in time. If a child with autism or related disorders doesn't do this, he may not learn from this interaction at all, or he might look at the wrong object. So if there's an apple, he might be busy with the tablecloth, or he might be busy with the leaf on top of the apple, not even looking at the actual apple. We never know what they're thinking, or they're not looking at all. A lot of the children are very distracted. Or they're thinking apple is a random word not connected to the apple. And they might just say apple, 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 but overgeneralizing, the apple is a chair, a table, anything. So that's why joint attention is something we really need to focus on and make sure they have to teach proper language. Okay, so here's more definitions. The simultaneous engagement of two or more individuals in mental focus on one and the same external thing. Narrow version, looking where someone else is looking. Broad version includes responsive and initiating behaviors, as well as the checking of another person's face. Knowing that another is looking at and experiencing something in the visual world. Both participants are monitoring the other's attention to outside entity, and the coordination that takes place in joint attentional interactions is accomplished by means of an understanding that the other participant has a focus of attention same entity as the self. Although joint attention typically refers to coordination of visual attention, it may be achieved through other sensory modalities.
Sit like this. Okay, work. Hey, keep looking. Do this. Good boy. Now. Hey, Lewis, let's do the puzzle. Lewis, let's do the puzzle. Waiting, look at me. That's it. Now you can try and give it back to me. Look at me. Good. That's it. Yes. Yay. Thank you, Liz. Well done. Let's put them away.
So take a look. People with ALS, I mean, they're using the Toby because they have loss of their vocal cords and muscle control, and their last strongest muscle is their eyes, so they can use that to communicate. There's different devices to help them work that out. So people who, regular typical developing people, for whatever reason, lose their voice from surgery, from different ailments, and they are using devices as well to communicate with their families. So it's not only for children who don't know how to communicate because they don't have their developmental milestones. Some people have it, but physically, medically don't have vocal cords or the muscle. Okay, what are goals related to colors? I mentioned before that there's 2 assessments specifically focused on verbal behavior. The VB Math assessment by Dr. Sundberg and the ABLES by Dr. Partington. This is not, like I said, an assessment workshop, but according to Mark Sundberg's VB Math assessment, there are certain goals related to COEX, written by Barbara Esch, who is a BCBA and a speech therapist. For example, group 1 of a COEX would be simple and reduplicated syllables. So they're imitating vowel diphthongs, consonants. For example, VB and HW, those are the beginning. If you look at any speech sound hierarchy, you're obviously going to see with typical children, first the easier sounds, ma, ba, and as they get older, they're going to get more throat sounds, and then they'll do the consonant blends. So these goals are slowly building it up. You want to obviously teach your child based on developmental milestones. If a child can't say ma, ba, you're definitely not going to start making them say bruh or like stuff, which is harder. And if they love, if they love certain items that you want them to request, but they don't have a proper articulation for it, you could accept their version, and hopefully as they get older, it'll shape up. But you don't want to get yourself frustrated or the child frustrated that they can't say, for example, they love umbrella for whatever reason to play. They can't say umbrella, and they say umbrella. Developmentally, that's fine. What's your name?
Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. What do you do?
I'm a student.
Okay. What are you studying?
Speech.
Okay.
If communication is supposed to have a purpose, how are codes communication?
Good question. So a coex is communication in the way that in order to have a tact, an demand, and an intraverbal, you for sure have to have an echoic. If someone can't repeat what you want, how are you going to teach that man's tacts and intraverbals? So it's basically a bridge to get towards man's tacts and intraverbals. Think about any child developing, typical development. If they can't repeat what you're saying, then they're never going to be able to vocally repeat when they want to ask for something.
But aren't we discussing like verbal rather than vocal? So like tacts and possibly
Yeah, we're talking about all forms, vocal and non-vocal in this workshop.
Right, but like if the code is just repeating,
Yeah.
so tacts and mans don't have to be vocal.
Right.
So like why does
No, if a child's form of communication is sign language, let's just say, and you say apple, and they sign apple as a repeating, that's a prerequisite for them to actually know that the sign apple is to help them use that sign to request, label, and do an intraverbal.
okay, so the code doesn't have to be vocal.
No. But you always provide the vocal with your sign, always. As providers, we're always doing vocals. And they might not use it, but we've seen tons of children who are using sign language. I'm more experienced with personally devices and communication boards, but most of the research, all research will show that that will actually cause them to start being vocal. Someone else had a question? Yes, sorry, what's your name? What do you do?
Megan, I'm an MSc.
Okay.
So the thing is, I think the distinction, there's the poet always meant to communicate, because that makes it verbal,
Right. But if someone's repeating as a self-saboteur behavior, and they're repeating it not because they want, that's going to be a definition.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So group 2, like I said, you're going on higher level imitation. Syllable combinations, for example, consonants of TG, TG, and Y and G. So say taco, open, kitty, baby, bunny, daddy. This is just a sample program. There's so many ways to teach a coax. I'm giving you a sample. Group 3 is syllable combinations, tubby toy, potato, how many, doggy bone. Group 4, you're already working on stressing certain words. For example, no way. So that's a lot of children with autism. They don't talk the way other people talk. They have like this rhythm or sing-song way, or very low level. They're not using appropriate stressing of sound, so you want to teach that as well. As children learn to repeat words, you want to make sure they're doing it with appropriate pitch, loudness, and duration, etc. Again, every child, and based on your assessment, will teach you what kind of codes to do with them. Because some children don't even need a lot of code practice on the word, but they might need it on increasing the words. For example, they can say any single word. It's not a problem. But you want them to talk and say, can I have the apple? But they can't. They can only say one word at a time. So you might slowly build up the mean-length utterance, also known as NLU. So they might say apple, then want apple, then can I have, slowly building it up, the actual amount of words you're using. So there's so many directions for codes. Here's another sample lesson plan. Again, you're doing the long-term objective. Student will imitate any two-word utterances. Novel, okay? So first they're going to imitate one CVC. CVC is consonant, vowel, consonant. So it's basically any cat, dog, cup. Here you're not focusing on any letter in isolation, like it can be any consonant. Sometimes you might only be working on, like I told you before, the N and the B, certain sounds. Once they do any CVC, then you'll start doing blends, CCVC, which is consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant. Then you can do two-word CVC, and then you can build up to two-word CCVCC. Not all children need to be so systematic. You obviously want to do something extremely important. It's called probe. Before you put in any goal, test it. You don't want to make yourself crazy and make a whole goal and then they do it right away, or it's way too high level and you're going to get an intervention and drag it out and they'll both be frustrated. So you tested a child, they couldn't say, for example, CCVC. But after 5 trials, they caught on to what you wanted and they started doing it for all words. So maybe the goal was just good for one day. The next day they still know it. Why would you waste 2 months on something that they really just needed for a day? So about your question about a coax while we're teaching it, it's about being a prerequisite. In order to teach tacts, which are labels, and then which are requests, the student has to have a target at hand under code control. If a child cannot repeat a sound, how are you going to get them to label it? Example, when teaching a child to tag a picture of a bus, the provider can provide a code prompt of bus. Now, it's very important to have in mind here as well, some children, especially with autism, have interesting behaviors and interesting things they're motivated by. They might hate and be aversive to codes because they don't find it fun or functional. Why should I repeat what you're saying? If you do it, your goal is that they should repeat it, but you're doing it with visuals as a tact, even though your goal is to have them repeat the word, and you're not ever making them tact independently, suddenly they're very happy to do it. For example, if I tell a child, chair, they're ignoring me. So I'm giving them errors on their data because they're getting it wrong. And I have the best reinforcer, they love pizza. And they're not saying chair. So that means they don't know how to do it. But guess what? When I show them a picture of a chair and they love visuals and I say chair, suddenly they're saying chair beautifully. So you have to be very careful when you take your data to understand why they're not doing what they're doing and maybe you can do it in a different creative way. So you're still doing a coex, your goal is to have them repeat, but you're using visuals, which looks like text, but you're never just holding up chair and saying, what's this? When you say, what's this, suddenly you're talking about a label, you're not talking about a code. But if I hold up a chair and say chair, and they say chair, that's in a code. Here's a video sample of codes.
Infants and children absorb vast amounts of information through the imitation of others. When they imitate vocally, we call this echoic behavior. In typically developing infants and children, vocal imitation skills emerge early in development and occur naturally. By 6 months of age, an infant usually babbles or produces repetitive syllables, such as baba or dada. Babbling soon turns into a type of nonsense speech, also known as jargon. Jargon often has the tone and cadence of human speech, but does not contain real words. By the end of their first year, most children have mastered the ability to say a few simple words. Most children with autism spectrum disorders, however, have what has been called a core deficit in the ability to imitate. They show little interest in the behaviors of those around them and do not attempt to imitate what they see and hear. For children with ASD, these behaviors require direct teaching. Teaching imitation and echoic skills is an extremely important focus of early intervention and provides the foundation for learning more advanced language.
Response form controlled by what the speaker wants from the listener. Again, the function of so demanding is that they want something from the listener. They're not trying to label, they're not trying to repeat, they're not trying to answer a question. So again, the example of popcorn, they're saying popcorn because they want popcorn, and they're saying hat because they want the hat. There's different forms: speaking, writing, signing, finger spelling, sending Morse code, and others, devices. Sometimes the child's pointing. I mean, most typical children start off by pointing to what they want before they even talk. Things that are mandated, there's a lot of things that you could request. Or you could request, it doesn't have to be an item that's physical and tangible. You could request attention by saying, hey, or excuse me. You could request items, water, snacks. You could request actions, help me, excuse me, fix it, can you give it to me, can you hold me? And you could also request for information, like saying who, when, or what, when, where. Here are some examples and non-examples of what's considered a mand. You should try to classify each example, so we'll do that. If someone's saying out because they want to get out of the door, that's a mand, right? If someone's saying open a window to cool the room, that's an example. If someone's writing stop because they heard someone say stop, is that considered a mand? So someone wrote stop because they heard someone say stop. That's the function. Is that an echoic or a mand? Good. If someone signs hello to get you to look at them, is that an echoic or a mand? It's going to get harder because now we're not dealing with tacts and intraverbals yet. If someone says coffee because they smell, okay, that you didn't do yet. I'll come back to that later. Okay. Now we discussed joint attention as prerequisites and echoics and mands. Before you do mand training, you want to make sure the item that you're training is actually a preference to the child. Some teachers, they have in their portfolios or their goals, I want the child, they like Lego, they like our iPad, they like crayons, so let's start training it. Okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and we did the morning routine, we're going to start training crayons. The child keeps getting errors. Okay, they don't know it, they forgot it, yesterday they knew it, we have to put an intervention. You need to stop and think. At that moment, does the child actually want crayons? Maybe they wanted it the day before, maybe they will want it later, but at that point, if they're satiated or uninterested, and they're not asking for crayon, it's not an error. They don't want it. So you have to really, really be using your common sense. So it's important to do a preference assessment to understand and know what reinforcers and preferred items the child likes. And even though we will determine what they are, at the moment of training, do they want it? Now, all of us don't get bored of certain things that we always want it. One of you can raise your hand and give me an example of something we'll never ever get bored of. What?
Games.
Can't hear you? You can get full, but some people can eat all day fine, but you can get full, yeah.
Games.
Games?
Yeah, like video games.
Yeah, video games. Some people get addicted. I mean, that could be an example. What about money? I don't think anyone ever will get bored of that. So, but if I tell you a drink, you might be really, really thirsty, and your mouth is so dry, and you'll do anything to get that drink of orange juice. But once you're finished the bottle or the cup or 2 cups, I don't think you're going to continue wanting to ask for orange juice. So we want to determine what their preferences are, and then we want to make sure that they're not satiated, but there's an element of deprivation at the point of doing mand training. So many individuals with autism and developmental disabilities are not able to indicate their preferences and dislikes. However, because of the vast individual differences among people with autism and other developmental disabilities, caregivers cannot simply assume that our favorite things and activities must be preferred by others. For example, offering money to our students who don't understand the value of money, they'll be like, no, rip it. I actually read a book on the weekend about this mother who was writing about how her child got diagnosed and how it affected her. First she went through denial, then she got really angry, and then she kept it a huge secret because she's going to cure this child, no one's allowed to know, and the emotional drama of her house of like keeping it a secret and being so angry, eventually accepting it, looking for support and being very open the community got involved, whoever offered her favor, she was so happy to be part of the network. Like, thank God she wasn't keeping it a secret. But her point was, in reference to preference assessments, that things that, what's it called? Hold on a second. Oh, things that you think that you like, that they like, is 100% very different. So she might love, and her family loved, reading certain books or watching certain things, and he wanted his own different thing. So you can't assume because I like it, they like it. Even your favorite dinner. Everyone loves people's and spaghetti in this house. They might hate it. So you have to really go into their head and see what they like. Things that are reinforcing or rewarding to one individual may be unpleasant for another person. Like, you might love music, they might hate it. Or even us, if you listen to the same song and you love it, you're like, I'm never gonna get bored of it. This is like the best song ever. I'm gonna listen to it every single morning when I wake up. The first thing I'm doing is press and play. A week later, if you hear that song, you might literally like run for your life. So even a food, you're like, that recipe is amazing. I'm eating this for dinner every single Monday. I'm making it. And then a month later, you're like, if you look at that food, you literally lose your appetite. So some things that you love, you stop liking, and some things that you don't like, you start liking. Things constantly change. Preference assessment aims to identify an individual's favorite thing so they can be used as rewards or potential reinforcers of appropriate and desired behavior. It is important to confirm before running man training that the target is preferred at the time of training. Back to the story I said a minute ago, I remember why I mentioned it. The boy who was diagnosed, someone gave him money because the mother was at this place where she needed to keep busy and she had to distract her son, and someone had a dollar bill and flipped it, but the boy was so happy. She didn't understand what autism was, but she saw a little boy acting inappropriate. She gave him money, thinking, he'll think, oh, I'm going to go to the store and buy one. And he sat there on the floor for like an hour shredding into tiny pieces.
Oh my God.
The mother was happy. She goes, I have an hour to myself to take care of this errand I need to do. But the boy literally was shredding the dollar. So just saying what's reinforcing for you might not be for them. That's why.
That poor dollar. That poor dollar.
Yeah. Okay, so anytime you do man training, before you start the session, you might want to have the items out and see if they take it and want it. And if they take it and they start wanting it, great. If they don't, then hey, they're not interested. So there's different types of preference assessments to figure out and determine what targets you maybe want to train to teach. So there's a caregiver interview. A lot of us maybe forget that when we're in a school setting, we think we know it all and we're great and we went to college and we have our masters, we have our PhDs and we're so talented, but there's another whole world in the house where the families have the child way more hours than us, and our mothers and caregivers, dads are very intuitive and they know a lot of things that we don't know. So pick up the phone or write a note and say, what is your child like at home? Don't be embarrassed. It does not mean you're not professional, uneducated, or you're not a good teacher or a speech therapist or occupational therapist, that you should have figured it out by yourself. Communicating and making a team approach and asking should not make you feel low. It should make you feel great that you're confident, but this is part of being a full team where you ask the parent, what is your child like? I met teachers who say, I can't ask the mother. She doesn't expect me to be giving her advice. Why should I ask her what the child likes? Now, of course, if the caregiver doesn't know, say, don't worry, we'll figure it out. We have preference assessment. I just wanted to see if at home there was any preference. Not to make them feel like, oh no, the world's full and the parents don't know and you don't know. So act confident about it and definitely try to get the caregivers involved. There's direct observation. If you let the child play alone in the playroom or with a bunch of different snacks and you just see what they do, you'll start saying, hey, they always go for the trains, or they always go to the library area. And you'll start seeing patterns of what they like in the natural setting. Systematic assessment is another thing where you actually systemize different ways of figuring out what they like. For example, you have a list of 20 items that are possible options of preferred items. You put 4 in front of them. They take 1. They're like, hey, they took from the 4, they chose the book. And then you can put the book back there and 3 new items. Again, shows the book. Wow, it's really something preferred. Take the book away. The next runner-up is Lego. And you can start seeing patterns of hierarchies of preference assessments of what they like. Again, if they keep choosing book, it doesn't mean the whole day they want the book. Maybe after 2 hours of working for books, they are satiated and now they really are good at Play-Doh. Or maybe they really want to drink. So we're going to do a video sample of a preference assessment. If you look online, there's so many printable, easy versions of preference assessments. You can see the kind that you like. There's also questionnaires. For example, asking a parent all the sensory questions. What kind of feedback does the child like? Do they like music? Do they like sounds, lights, massage? Do they like different foods? So when you go through sight, touch, taste, you can get a whole different way of figuring out preference assessments in a home setting. There's also based on just toys. It's different kind of toys, cause and effect, manipulative toys, constructive toys, videos, etc.
So how do we figure out what the learner is motivated by in the moment? We can perform preference assessments. Preference assessments are small experiments to see what items evoke behavior. Some of the behaviors we will be looking for in a preference assessment are reaching for, walking towards, playing with, taking, asking for, or looking at various items. A few types of preference assessments are free operant. This is essentially watching what your learner chooses to do when they can play with anything available.
Follows all the instructions like
What's he looking for? What's that,
more
Mr. Noodle?
bubbles.
What's he got?
Open. Look, bubbles.
It's an ant. Mr. Noodle,
More?
you can't go on with an ant. Uh-oh. Bye-bye, ant. See? Mr. Noodle, you need something bigger to seesaw with you.
Forced choice. This is giving your learner choices of several items and seeing which one they pick.
Kiana, pick one.
Pick one.
All right, bubbles. Here we go.
There we go.
Be careful not to rely on what someone says they want, especially for learners that are just acquiring this skill. Holding up a few items and assessing what the learner looks at or reaches for may be more accurate of what they actually want.
What they actually want. That was a good point. If a child says an item, you could assume that they want it, but sometimes they have limited language, and those are the words they know. For example, even on the higher level, if you have in front of you a bag of chips, so you decided that now you want to train the child to ask for chips. The child sees chips, and they know how to label that it's called chips. They might think, oh, the program now I know I need to do is just say chips, 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 chips. Doesn't mean they even want it. They don't mind, they'll take it. But really, they would much more prefer pretzels. So let's just say they saw pretzels in the top drawer of the bin, but the teacher has a bag of chips. So they're saying chips, 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 chips. They're getting chips. They don't really want it, but the teacher thinks that they are mandating, they really are tacting, maybe, they see it, or they're so trained, oh, it's a chip program. Then they say, you know what, I want pretzels, and I see it here, so they say pretzels. Guess what the teacher does? Minus. Wrong, this is called chips. So some kids like, I know, but they're saying, oh, pretzels. Sorry, Mom. So, anytime a child says a word, you also want to make sure, have all the items out. If they chose pretzel, maybe stop doing the chip program and switch to pretzel. But if they said pretzel independently right away, maybe they don't need training on saying pretzel either. So always use your common sense. Okay. I mentioned a few times deprivation versus satiation in reference to preference assessments. So here, planning for a state of mild deprivation can increase the effectiveness of a reinforcer. So if you want to teach a child to ask for a drink, and they're not so thirsty, but you really want to give them a lot of opportunities, because this child could use a few hundred trials to get to independent. That means it could take 2 weeks until they could say juice independently, or even 3. So you want to have a lot of opportunities to do it, but they're not always so thirsty, so you might give them some salty foods, for example, to get them more deprived and ask for the drink. Or here also you might ask the child to use a spoon at the start of the meal. So you give them their yogurt, you give them their soup, whatever it is, but don't give them the spoon, so they should ask for the spoon. It's an element of deprivation. Of course, don't do that for someone who will use their hands and have a behavioral problem with that. Satiation may be temporary, and the event may be reinforcing at a different time. Like I mentioned before, you might want to play Lego, and then you get bored, and then you want it again. Just like all of us. Although I'm tired of this music right now, I want to hear it again later. Okay, So now that we know the term, what it means to man, I'm going to be discussing a man training protocol. There's a lot of variations to it, but here's the basic elements. And it mimics typical development. Okay? So the objective is to teach a child to request for items, activities, etc. This can occur again in many forms: a device, boards, typing, vocal. The first part of new man training is making sure and ensuring the child has an encode for the word that is a target at hand. So if we determine we want to teach a child to say doll, because they want to play their doll, then they must be able to repeat the word doll in any form of what we determine is what their level is. So if I'm the provider and I say doll, let's just assume that they're vocal, and they say da, they can't say doll yet, and that's fine. We're doing successive approximation. They said it, I give them the doll. Let them play with her for a few seconds, I take it back, and I say doll, they say doll, I give it to them. And back and forth. Every single time that they said doll, I repeat the word again, so they hear the word that I want them to say, doll, and I give it to them. I don't say, great, you're asking, you're amazing. I'm trying to make it as natural as possible. Just like typical children, if they want a bottle, I'll say bottle, and they say bottle, I'm like, yeah, it's a bottle, and I give it to them. Or apple, apple, and that's how they learn words. So the protocol here is that they should get 5 consecutive correct echoics in order to move to the next level of NANS. Some children might need 10 consecutive correct echoics because they need a lot more practice, and some 5 is way too many. They're going to get bored and think we're silly. They might just need 3. So you can really set up your criterion level based on your child's learning patterns, which might change over time. In the beginning, they might need 10. A few months later, they might need 5. So we're providing a vocal prompt for the target at hand. If using devices, provide a gesture with your vocal prompt. So if there's a board and there's a doll on it, you're going to point to the picture of doll and say doll, doll, and they just have to point to the doll. For sure, if you're using boards, you want to use multiple exemplar arrays so they don't memorize. If I want doll, I don't even have to look at my board, I know it's the top right corner. So you want to always have it in a different position, maybe using different picture icons from Mayor Johnson or whatever you're using so that they could generalize it to higher level communication. The goal is, if they're on a board, to obviously get to an actual device so there's voice input and they can always hear the word. Again, criterion set for 3 to 5 consecutive correct. You can manipulate that and maybe do 10. And then once they have consecutive correct, for example, they said doll, doll, doll 5 times or 6 times. You know what? We've established that they have a code control over it. They know the word. Let's move to the next level of NANS. Here's a sample data sheet. You can make your own, or your school or agency might have for man training. We have a code row and then the manual row. So the codes is where you take the code data and you can analyze it differently. And it's very careful to make a differentiation because you might see a lot of direct responding for coeds, but a lot of errors for manding because that's a much higher level. Part 2, the MANs. Here, we want the child on their own to say doll. I'm not going to give them the word. They already heard it from me in the code session. So the student is required to man the target item without any code prompt. It's important to make sure the child wants the item. Sometimes after 5 codes, they might be satiated. So you have to have that in mind as well. Again, there has to be an element of deprivation versus satiation. When delivering the item, provide a vocal. Again, if the child said car, because they're a manning car, when you give it to them, say car. So they always hear the word, especially if they're not talking clearly or they're not saying the full. If let's say you wanted to say I want car or can I have car, and they said can car, and you say can I have car. So they always hear the appropriate way to communicate. In addition to MANs, there's 2 kinds of MANs. We want children to naturally communicate. We don't want to have to say, what do you want? Or what do you want to play? We want them on their own to be independent and say, can I have the doll? Or can I play the train? Or apple. If you go over to them and say, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? It's still nice that they're answering us, but it's a lower level because they're relying on us asking them. And they can't spontaneously communicate. So a pure MAN is that at any prompt on our end, they ask for what they want. So when we're training MAN training, we don't have a car ad or whatever they want. We don't have glue or a scissor or they want color and say, what do you want to play? What do you want to do? Because you might teach them inadvertently to never ask what they want unless we ask them. So if you're just quiet and you have the items available for what you should be requesting and you're in control, so they're not going to grab it, it's like in your area, and you're quiet, they might grab it. You won't let them take it. They might say, blah blah, and you're like, what? And they're like, oh, she just told me, but they remember that you said car for the coats, they might try to say car, hopefully they'll problem solve. And you're like, car, and you give it to them. And that will hopefully increase the correct responding in the future. However, you might have done 5 poets, correct. You move to man's, you want them to say car, and they're not. They're grabbing, they're saying the wrong word, they're saying train, they're saying chair. If they get 3 errors in a row, then stop the session. If a child is non-vocal and their form of communication is pointing or using a device, is it the same methodology of training? So I said, yeah, and I'll give you some examples. If a child has a device, they're using the promo code to go. Anyone familiar with the promo code to go on the iPad? Good. Or the Dynamax Compass? Anyone using that one? There's different apps to help a child communicate, right? So let's say we have a child, his name is Alan, and his form of communication is with the promo code to go. The child is at the level where they point to an icon which says foods. That food icon pops up different types of food, lunch, breakfast, snacks. Then they choose their snack icon board, and then all their snacks pop up, and they're supposed to ask for pretzel if they want pretzel. Let's just say we're talking at that level. So by my poet, I'm going to show them, is a pretzel available? I'm going to point to the food icon, the snack icon, and pretzel icon. That's a high level, it's 3 steps after press. And I said pretzel, plus the device said pretzel for them. Then, what? The device?
Yeah.
It's called Promo Quo to go.
To
To go. There's many apps. I can't even count on my fingers.
Right.
But this is one of the most popular ones. Promo Quo to go. If you want to watch a tutorial on it, YouTube has many. Okay? So I wrote food, snacks, pretzel, then and I said it, pretzel. They don't say anything, but they typed food, snacks, pretzel. I said pretzel and I give it to them because on their level, they requested the call it appropriately. When I'm up to consecutive correct, they did it. By math, I don't do anything. I have the pretzel out, plus some other reinforcers or preferred items. They have their own go to their device, and they press food, snack, pretzel. I give it to them. That's their level.
But that's all visual and no verbal.
Right, they don't have to be there.
Right.
I can't make someone do something that they're unable to do.
Right.
In addition to that, when we're talking about devices, and there's another whole training in addition that you want to make sure they know how to use their device in a generalized form. For example, once they know how to use it, you set it up for them, but they want them to have ownership of their device. They should be able to take it from their backpack and turn it on and go over to you, tap you, and let's say your name is Sally, and they on their device say, Sally, what? I want pretzel, please. So that's eventually a real goal for generalization. It would be considered an impure man if we have here, sorry, blocking it, of having you give the child a device and saying, what do you want? You want them to really learn how to use it. So that's, every kind of form of communication has a little bit of variation of tools. We're going to give another example of a child who is 2, early intervention, and they don't even have a pointer. They physically cannot shape their pointer. Their level is touch. So you're going to have 3 objects, an apple, sippy cup, and a bag of animal crackers that they like. And you're going to model, even though they're touching, you're going to model a point and show them, let's say they want the animal crackers. And you say animal crackers, that's my color. If they touch they touch as a selection animal crackers, that's their form of communication. And I give them a piece of animal cracker and I say animal cracker. Then I know that they want, let's say, the sippy cup. So I point to the sippy cup and I say sippy cup. They actually do an echoic and touch the sippy cup and give them some of their drink. 5 consecutive echoes correct. I say nothing, the items are out. If they select something, I give it to them. That's their form. While they're selecting and I'm delivering, I'm giving them the vocals. They hear the word, but they are not required to say it. Part 3, generalization. I mentioned a little bit of generalization for the device. If a child is mandated, which is to request, 10 consecutive times the item correctly, or whatever you set up, it is crucial to ensure that they command throughout the day for that item in the generalized setting. If 3 consecutive errors commands occur, you want to go back to the code session. For example, I trained a child to say water. The whole morning they're saying water, water, water. I am so excited. In the afternoon they go to the speech therapist. I was a teacher. and I told the speech therapist, best news ever, the child can say water. She's excited, she takes the water out, the child is not saying water. They forgot the word because the morning passed, or they start pouring the water in orange juice, or they're laughing or crying. It didn't generalize. Either it's a new person, you know, a lot of children with autism have a problem generalizing to people, or they literally did not maintain the skill. In a masked session of training, they remember it, but once time passed, they don't. So you have to retrain it and make sure you generalize appropriately and properly before assuming that it's 100% mastered. Yeah?
So if they can't generalize to the new person, should the new person train them?
Yes. All settings and all people and all kinds of ways it should be done so it's truly, truly mastered. Raise your hand if you had experience with such a thing that you thought something was mastered and then they either lost the skill really quickly or it wasn't generalized. Yeah. Another example could be a vacation pass. So they learned it in school, and then there was holiday break. They came back, and there's regression. They forgot a lot of their words. That happens a lot. So it's possible to maintain at home, but sometimes it's not sufficient, and we need to go backwards. Okay. Another element of NAN training is successive approximation to shape behaviors. Like we mentioned before, we're saying train, or we're saying cookie, but they can only say cookie, or they can only say cook. And that's their level of being vocal. We're not working on pointing on a device because they have potential to be vocal, but we're going to do successive approximation to shape up the word to a clearer form, based on their age and developmental level. A lot of babies talk, and they might say for bottle, baba, and that's fine. You're not going to say bottle, and you're not going to give it to them. They say bhakti, whatever they say, or instead of saying their book, they say book, book, book. They're not saying the kuh sound. Eventually, practice then getting older and developmentally maturing, they'll get the word. So successive approximations reinforce our increasingly accurate approximations, a response desired by a trainer. As training progresses, the trainer stops reinforcing the less accurate approximations in order to shape the behavior. For example, let's say we're talking about a target of cookie. First, we're maybe just going to accept cook. Then we might accept coo, and then cookie. So if a child could say cookie, then I'm not going to accept coo anymore. We're on to the higher level. If a child could say water, then I'm not going to accept wawa. But until they can do the higher level, we'll accept the lower, and we'll slowly, you want to collaborate with a speech therapist for sure for this, because they can have a lot of different tactics to help get it clear, through prompt therapy, through different things that they might do. It's important to have in mind, especially for students with apraxia, where they have core motor planning when it comes to articulation. If a child is so unarticulate that we understand them, because we're so used to them, but no one else in the environment understands them, and you think you're doing amazing, and the child and you have a really good relationship going on, sometimes you might ask yourself, do they maybe need a communication board or a device or some other form in addition, until it's clear so their peers and other people in their environment understand them. So that's something that you need to decide based on the history of learning. Here are some goals related to bands. Requesting for actions. I need help. I want to dance. Can you push me on the swing? Another goal that I like doing is requesting of eye contact. There's a lot of different history in a different workshop about getting eye contact. I'm not talking about joint attention. I'm talking about just looking at the provider or person who they're talking to. So a lot of people would do it in a very non-natural way. If you look at me, then I'm going to give you a prize. So they're looking at you not because they want to, they're not socially motivated to. There's no function to it other than getting that chip or getting that cookie. So if they're looking at you, because they know by looking at you, you're going to look at them, they got your attention, and they can ask you for something that's much more functional and something that might be really generalized versus, look at me, yay, looked at me, here's a present. Requesting for attention, hey, look, I'm done. Or look at me, I'm upside down, or I'm jumping. Requesting for help. Requesting with full sentences. Requesting for missing items. Requesting for a break. Requesting from a peer. A lot of the children are only asking adults or providers for their wants and needs, but they won't ask their friends for it. Requesting with adjectives. Can I have the big one? Can I have the shiny one? Prepositions. Can I have the thing that's under that table? For adverbs. Request to stop an activity. Request for information using WH questions. Where are you going? Why are you doing that? Which one should I give you? If you are familiar with the VB map assessment, which I mentioned before, they have demands based on levels. So the first level, which you want to discuss You're not going to put on requesting for information, I hope, if a child can't ask for basic reinforcers. You first want to make sure they know how to ask for basic preferred items. Once they can do 10, 20, then you go on a higher level, they should ask for requesting for missing items. For example, you gave the child a paper, and you told them to cut. They need a scissor, so they'll say, hey, I need a scissor. Or you gave them a cup without the water, they'll say, I need the water. You're not going to do higher level requests for missing items if they can't even ask for the basic item. In addition to that, if they can't ask for the item in front of them, how can they ask for an item that they don't see? Asking for from peers is also a higher level. A lot of them are trained to ask from us and to get them to generalize it. You're building up. And asking for missing information, that's level 3. So you don't want to skip steps and then get frustrated that the child is getting intervention. Yes?
You said level 3, how many levels are there?
According to the BB Math, there are 3 levels. Level 1 is 0 to 18 months.
That's the highest level.
Yeah, level 2 is 18 to 30 months, and level 3 is 30 to 48 months to complete development.
So the ones that you have on this there are the bottom or level?
I mixed it all up. I'm just giving random examples, but I'm saying if you went according to hierarchy, then you want to make sure you're using developmental.
So eye contact is level 1.
Requesting for eye contact is actually depending on the child. Because sometimes they have it naturally, and sometimes it could be level 1, because if you withhold a reinforcer and only give it to them when they look, you could build it up, and they don't have to have higher level communication of language that's more sociable within this command. Here's a sample lesson plan for MANs. So the program name is Man Training for Toys with a full sentence. Again, here we're focusing on the mean length utterance, how many words they use. Okay, so here they have the words, but we want them to talk more naturally. Instead of saying, train, train, they can say, can I have a train, or things like that. So for Mandy, you're going to first have the first goal is they say train. Good. They know to ask for train. Then I might tell them to say want train. They're only going to get the train now if they say want train. If they know how to say want train, then I'll build it up to I want train. If they master that, then I'll do I want train, please. There's different forms. You can make me say, can I have train, please? If they master this, you might even have them call your name, get your attention, and then ask for the item. So there's a lot of variations to building up meaning length utterance. STO is short-term objective. Thanks for asking. Sometimes I like short-term objectives leading to the LTO, which is long-term objectives. Okay, so we discussed joint attention, and now we're going to be talking about establishing MANs with joint attention. Okay.
Should I put in parentheses what not everything could always put the top of that, you know?
Right. Okay, so requesting without joint attention are evident when they typically occur indiscriminately with the listener's attention. For instance, even a well-developed force such as can I have that chocolate may occur and simply be repeated in the absence of evidence that any listener attends. So, like I said, you want to make sure there's joint attention, that they know they need to be talking to you, not to themselves, and there needs to be 2 people in order to have communication. There must be a listener, right? So let the child observe you putting potential reinforcers away so they are not accessible to the child without your participation. For number 1, if they can reach whatever they want in their house, take things out of the cabinets, take things out of the refrigerator, have all the toys they want, why do they have a need to request? It actually happen. In order to increase the child's request, you want to make sure that they don't have access to those items. Put them higher up, put them some area where they don't have access to, so they're motivated to communicate. When a child produces the first man, do not deliver the terminal reinforcer, but prompt an attention-getting response in the child, such as calling her name, which will typically be followed by your appropriate listener behavior, such as answering yes, and visually orienting in the child's direction. Then, let this constitute occasion accomplished. The child's command is typically reinforced. This is what I mentioned before, but it's a high level. If a child can't say train, I'm not going to even go over it yet, but if the child can say train, then I might want them to call my name, get my attention before they say train, so that they're not talking to themselves. You have children, unfortunately, you'll observe with autism or related disorders, they're saying, water, water, and everyone comes giving them water, but in their head, they didn't learn that you're talking to a person. You don't just talk to the ear and water somehow comes. And you don't talk to someone's back. And you don't talk to someone's elbow. You want to talk towards their face, you don't just stare at their eyes, but toward their face area, and you want to make sure that they're listening. So, I'm on the phone having a conversation with, this all happens to everyone. As soon as you make a phone call, all the children send what they need to, but you're on the phone, and a child is behind your back saying, chicken, 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 and you give them chicken, they did not learn that they need to get your attention. They just learn that say something, I get it, which is the first step. You want to build that up and make sure that they know that you're intending, and only then give it to them. But again, you want to build your way up.
Teaching a child to request or mand. Request or mands are typically the first verbal operant acquired by children. Learning to request can include anything from a food item like a cookie, a toy, or even a preferred activity. By learning to request, children can decrease disruptive behaviors as they will have functional modes of communication to gain access to their wants and needs in their environment. Cookie. Cookie.
Cookie. Cookie.
Cookie. You did. You got a whole one because you said cookie all by yourself. Nice asking for cookie. High five. Good job, buddy. The instructor begins by delivering the reinforcer with model for pairing trials. The instructor piques the child's interest by holding the cookie where the child can see it, but it's just out of reach. The key to success is speaker motivation. The instructor uses a full prompt with a 0-second time delay. Cookie. By avoiding other words, the child is more likely to only repeat the word cookie. Beginning with a full prompt prevents the child from making an error and becoming frustrated. The instructor provides immediate positive reinforcement following the request. The instructor immediately repeats the exercise, providing less assistance or a faded prompt. Notice that the instructor does not say, "What do you want?" Teaching a child to only respond to phrases such as "what do you want" could lower spontaneous requesting in the future, as a child could become dependent on waiting for someone to ask them what they want before making a request. Each time the child was able to request the cookie with less prompting than they were in the previous trial. You did. You got a whole one because you said cookie. When delivering reinforcement during man training, avoid unnecessary words like "good job." Using just the name of the reinforcer itself will help the child to pair the word cookie with the actual cookie when making later request. Select the response form that the child will use. Remember, requests can come in many different forms. It can include pointing, signing for an item, or a picture exchange. Select the response form the child will be most successful with and therefore more likely to use. Teach when motivation is strong. Remember, practice makes perfect. Build motivation by manipulating the environment so the child will be more likely to mand, such as giving a piece of a cookie instead of the whole thing. Fade your prompts so that mands are spontaneous. It's important that the child also learns to ask for things that are out of sight. This can be taught by moving items from just out of reach to being placed on a shelf to being placed behind an item where only a part of the preferred item is shown and eventually faded to completely out of sight. It's important to avoid meeting the child's needs before they have to ask for items and activities, such as asking "what do you want?" or providing free access to the items in the child's environment. These steps will help increase the likelihood that the child will request spontaneously. Once a child is requesting a single item, additional items can be taught. It is important to stick to single word request until the child is able to request a large amount of preferred items and activities, such as 20 to 30 different items, before multiple word requests are going to be required. Using sentences to request, such as "I want cookie," should be delayed until the child has a large enough repertoire of single word requests to have his or her needs met. Use database decision making. Collecting data will track the level of prompting required for each target, as well as the total number of targets the child has acquired.
Augmentative communication. There's another video.
What would you like? What are you going to have?
I would like a cherry relleno with refried beans and rice.
Ah, anything else we can get you?
I would like a Sprite.
All right, cool. Coming right up.
It.
Look at you!
Up. Can you warm it up?
A lot of children actually get devices from the Board of Ed. They come and they do an evaluation on assistive technology, and if they show that they're appropriate for it, it can be added to the IP. So have that fun. Okay. The next section is tacts, which is to label. Definition: a type of verbal behavior with the response form controlled primarily by an immediately prior nonverbal SD, object, action, relation, and property set. Many who wish to use Skinner's classification system, but not its technical terms, call it naming or labeling. So you're saying something because you see, smell, touched, etc. It's a kind of response form that speaking, writing, any form that you label is fine. You can do it on your device, right? You can sign it, you can vocalize it. Things that are tacted are objects, actions, adjectives, prepositions, nouns, etc. So in simple terms, we're talking about labeling. Here are some examples and non-examples. I'll just say a random one. If you say a taxi because you want a taxi, what's that considered?
Request.
A man, good. Say a taxi because you see a taxi. Good, label tact. If someone asks you, we're not going to do that one yet, I'm just going to give random examples, one more. You are signing a cat because you see a cat. Label, which is tact, very good. Here are some goals related to tact, which is labeling. We label toys, food, clothing, pairs, adjectives, actions. Academic goals: colors, numbers, shapes, letters. Label with a complete sentence. Label from a picture scene. Labels features, functions in class. Labels of fast vocabulary words. It's endless. Whatever you want a child to label would be considered a labeling program, also known as tact. Here's a sample activity. For example, the program name, tax categories. The long-term objective, which is the LTO, student will label 8 categories with 90% accuracy. Possible short-term objectives, labels clothing or animals. Then the next short-term objective could be labels food and toys. Then the next one will be labels shapes and colors, and then labels letters and numbers. A lot of ways to play around with this. What's your field? Are you having just a dog and say what category is this? Are you having 8 categories at the table and say, let me know all these categories? A lot of different methodologies to do that. Establishing joint attention phenomena. Why joint attention phenomena are important in verbal and listening skills. Consider what happens in their absence. Listening skills. If you say, hey, look at that, but they're not listening to you, and they don't know where you're looking, then they won't be able to look, and then when you label whatever it is, they don't even know what you're talking about. So if you say there's a horse with 3 legs, and they're not having joint attention, you're not going to really accomplish anything. So joint attention, we discussed has important commands and for sure tasks. If you want a child to spontaneously label, like I mentioned in the past, it must have some form of joint attention if there's a form of communication. So if a child themselves is just saying cup, table, chair, cup, they're not really communicating, they're just talking to themselves. But if they want their mother, sister, brother, whoever to know that they are labeling, they need to look at you and say cup. And you both know that you're talking about them. So establishing normal tact consequences as reinforcers. So you want the child to be conditioned to look at you when they're labeling. You can nod, you can smile, you can give attention for responses like that. So if they say cup and you look, or yeah, say something to show acknowledgement to build up that behavior. Video sample.
talking.
Sasu.
Sassy's the bird, yeah.
Independently tacting and joint attention is a big deal. The reason is that tacting is socially reinforced and doesn't have a tangible reinforcer.
Look.
Look, good talking.
Sasu.
Unlike manding, where the reward is getting what you're asking for.
What ways?
This is why Jack Riley has been requesting items. He's immediately reinforced. Tacting, on the other hand, is making an observation in your environment and then sharing with others what you experience. So the reward in tacting is the attention and social interaction. Kids with autism many times aren't naturally socially motivated in the way typically developing children are. Here, Jack Riley is simultaneously tacting with joint attention. Jack Riley looks at the TV, points, and labels the characters. Then, he looks at Jessica to check that she is sharing the experience with them, and then looks back at the TV. A key identifying sign of autism is a child's lack of joint attention. They don't initiate having a joint experience, for example, pointing, or responding to other social cues like following a parent's gaze. The way we encourage tacting behaviors is by first practicing it in a contrived manner, like teaching labels, asking,
Well, what is it?
Two.
Okay, thank you.
We teach them labels so they have words to communicate with. The hope is to fade the prompts until the language happens naturally and often.
The end.
That's the next Lion King. Circle of life.
The end. All right, it's over.
Okay. It's all over. It's over, buddy.
You want to play? Do you want to play? Say yes.
Yes.
Good. Do you want to play?
Yes.
Okay, here. Do you want one fire truck or two?
Two.
Two. Okay, here you go.
Fire truck.
Fire trucks, yeah. Okay, Jack Riley, one more minute, okay? Say okay.
Okay.
All right. All right, buddy. Come over here. Come sit down.
Ow. Please.
Jessica and Jack Riley are continuing to work on identifying categories since he knows so many labels now.
Hey, mister. That was good sitting, but you gotta face me, okay? Turn around. Turn around. Thanks. Do you want bubbles, phone, or fire truck?
Whoa.
Say I.
Whoa.
Okay.
Toys.
Hold on, buddy.
Able.
I know. Hold on. Ready? Say I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Give me a vehicle.
Vehicle.
Good job. What is it?
Vehicle.
Nice. Good job, kiddo. Right. Hold on. Okay, ready? Say I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Give me animal. Good job. What is it?
Able.
Good job. There you go. Here's another sticker for you. Give me toys.
Wings.
Nice job. What is it?
Toys.
Yeah, but what is it? Say toys. No, say toys.
Toys.
Good. What is it?
Toys.
There you go, mister. Nice job. Give me animal. Good job. What is it?
Able.
Nice. All right. Last one. Give me. Hey, look at me.
Look at me.
Good job. Give me food.
Talk. Walk. Cat.
Nice job. What is it?
Able.
No, this one. What's this one?
Able. No.
What is this?
Fruit.
Food. There we go. All right. Here you go.
Buffalo.
Yeah. There you go, mister. you want more twinkle, twinkle, little star? More?
Ow.
Do you want more?
Boy.
Say I.
I want boy.
Okay, we're gonna sing first. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
Knees. Toes.
What's next? Eyes and ears and mouth and nose, head.
Knees, toes,
Knees and
toes.
yay! That was very good. High fives. Oh, too slow. High five. Ah, too slow. There you go. Ah, yay! You did it. Good boy. Okay, I get you your peekaboo wild. Okay. Okay. Where's my peekaboo wild? Let me go get it for you. There you go. So silly. He's done so much better. He knows the words now, which is really, really cool. And it helps him with labeling his body parts too. So a lot of the body parts I think he learned from the song before we even started on them.
Knowing the song also prepares Jack Riley for preschool. By knowing the words and movements, he will be able to participate in social activities that his peers will be doing.
So that was, stopped in the middle, so it's pretty long, but showing how you can get joint attention to establish tacts when the child's already had labels. So I'll get here, especially it shows the next section we're going to be doing is intraverbals. Again, we did echoics, bands, tacts, joint attention, we did preference assessments. The last section is intraverbals. The definition. It's a type of verbal behavior with response form controlled by a verbal stimulus with which the response does not have point-to-point correspondence. So it's the opposite of an echoic. If someone hears the word sock, they don't say sock, they might say shoe. Or they'll say anything in response to what they heard, but different than that word. If they hear, what do you like to play? They're not going to say, what do you like to play? They'll say, dolls. Possible response forms can be speaking, writing, signing, and others. Again, you might ask someone a question, what do you want to drink? And they answer on their device. They might sign it, they might vocalize it, they might type it, they might point to it. So programs usually under intraverbals are conversations, asking questions, filling in blanks. If you say ready, set, and they say go, that's an intraverbal. Even filling in words to a song, if you say Old MacDonald had a, and they say farm, that's an intraverbal. Here are some examples again. If someone says over because they heard the word under, what's that an example of? Good, intraverbal. If someone says window as a result of seeing a window, what is that? What? Good, tact. If someone writes cat because they see someone signing cat. So usually if they see someone signing it, then maybe two different forms, but it could also be an echoic. If someone says cup because they see a cup of coffee. Tact, good. If someone says cat because they see a dog. But if they, it's a tricky one because they didn't hear where they're seeing a dog. It's not, in order to be an intraverbal, it's because they heard something. If they didn't hear anything, it's not an intraverbal. They're just, if they write cat as a result of seeing a cat. Yeah, it's a form of taxi. If they say taxi because they hear the word taxi. What if they say taxi because they want a taxi? What if they say taxi because someone said what vehicle is yellow? What if they say taxi because they like that word? In no one's even there. Is that considered a form of communication?
Yeah.
What? No, there's no one in the room and they're just saying tacts to themselves. They're just babbling. If a hungry child enters the kitchen and would really like a cookie, but there's no one there, so no verbal behavior occurs. But if the parent comes into the kitchen and the child really says cookie, here are some goals related to intraverbals. They're filling in words in song or phrase, they're answering personal ID, answering WH questions, answering function questions, describing events when told, tell me what happened, answering reading and listening comprehension. Anything you tell a child, anything, and they respond in form, but it's not identical to what you said, that's going to be intraverbal. Okay? Here's a sample lesson plan. So we're doing a plan of program name states personal information with 90% accuracy. Possible short-term objectives. What's your name? Where do you live? How old are you? How old are you? Is annoying because they finally master it and then they turn over. What's your phone number? Oh yeah, no, so phone numbers are tricky because cell phones are changing at house numbers, but whatever. What school do you go to? What's your sister's name? A lot of information that changes. I wouldn't teach the child who has such a hard time learning it. For example, teachers change, friends in the class change, therapists change, but siblings, parents, addresses usually are, where they live is usually going to be a little bit more steady, consistent. Here's a sample related to intraverbals.
That little pig by the barnyard gate, that little pig is my playmate. That little pig goes
Oink, oink, oink.
That little cow goes
Moo, moo, moo.
That little rooster goes
Cock-a-doodle.
cock-a-doodle. Come on, Evie. Cock-a-doodle doodly 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 doo. That little barnyard gate, that little
donkey
is my playmate. That little donkey went
hee-haw, hee-haw.
That little
Goose.
What comes next?
Look on your hand.
Look on your right hand. What is it? Good. That little pig goes
Oink, oink, oink.
Good job. That little What comes next?
Cow.
Good. Moo, moo, moo.
Moo, moo.
That little What's next?
Rooster.
That's right. Rooster goes cock-a-doodle doodly 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 doo.
Hey.
Good job remembering, Evie. Ooh, I'm sorry.
This little giraffe by the barnyard gate. Wait a minute. Giraffe? Does a giraffe live on the farm? I haven't ever. Yes, Kate, yes, Cap. Do you know where Donkey is?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I think he got hungry and went in the barn.
Alright, would you like to something?
Sure. What is there to eat at the farm?
I have some milk for you.
Ooh.
I got the milk.
Fresh milk from the cow. Thanks.
And
Do you
look,
have any oats or
I
corn?
have cereal for you.
Cereal. Oh, that's my favorite. Hee-haw. Hee-haw. Hey, what about...
Hey Champ, what'd you do at the park today?
I saw a balloon.
A balloon? What color was it?
Blue.
Oh, so cool.
This is an example of an intraverbal. When responding to conversational questions such as this one, you are engaged in intraverbal behavior. Like echoic behavior, the antecedent for intraverbal behavior is a verbal stimulus, although not necessarily vocal. People can engage in conversation through text or sign or even gestures. The interverbal response does not duplicate the antecedent vocal behavior, meaning that the response is different than the stimulus.
Okay, old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a cow, E-I-E-I-O, with a moo-moo dad, and a moo-moo dad, here a.
The consequence for interverbal is also nonspecific reinforcement, and usually the consequence could be another question, a statement, a smile, or head nod.
Okay, so in summary, we discussed verbal behavior, which is forms of communication, including commands, tacts, echoics, and intraverbals. It informs vocal and devices, sign language, pointing, typing, etc. We discussed word attention, preference assessments, and hopefully this will be a stepping stone. Each of these things will need a lot more research to be implemented, but this is an introduction. If you have any questions, yes.